So I'm here with Scott Hanselman. First of all, I would like to thank you for awesome podcasts.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Every episode.
Oh, rock on. Excellent.
This year we have a lot of new excellent products from Microsoft. What are your favorite features in Windows 8?
Well, actually I did a video on Windows 8 that was called Learn Windows 8 in 3 minutes. And that was the thing I did on the side. I mean, I don't work for the Windows 8 team. I'm just an enthusiast, right? I mean, I want to make sure people know that I work for the web team and I do ASP.NET and Azure. And whenever I do anything on Windows 8, it's just me goofing around in my spare time. So nothing I say is ever officially what people in Windows would say. But I'm frankly liking the hotkeys. I know that everyone talks about touch and mouse, but for me, like Windows X has kind of changed my life. It's like the power user's hotkey. It used to bring up the mobility center, but now it brings up this little menu at the bottom. I can bring up device manager, and I can bring up event log, and all the kind of stuff that as a developer I want to bring up really, really quickly. Yeah. So I've set up a number of hotkeys in Windows 8. So it extends on the hotkeys that were in Windows 7. So for me, I spend most of my time on the desktop. So hotkeys, hotkeys, hotkeys. That's my favorite feature of Windows 8.
What about Windows Phone 8?
I don't have a Windows Phone 8, but so far the ones that I've played with, the thing that I like the most is the ability to make the icons smaller.
Okay.
Because I remember when I was using my Nokia Lumia 800, it would just scroll infinitely because I would basically pin everything that I liked over there, and it would end up being like 40, 50 apps long. Yeah. And actually I did a blog post that was called something like, these are the apps that I would absolutely need if I was going to switch from iPhone. And I think it's like 40 or 50, or I think it's 48 out of 50 apps that are like the top 50 they have. I think they're missing like Instagram and a couple other ones, but most of the apps that I would need are there.
Cool. What about Azure?
See, I'm all about Azure. I'm glad that you asked that. Did I tell you to ask me that? What I like about Azure, what I'm realizing more and more about Azure, is the way that they've layered things. I can create a VM, I can have full control of the VM, I can be the one who's in charge of updating the VM. I could use websites, which builds on top of that, except I don't have to think about the underlying virtual machine. Yeah. I don't have to think about the security updates, I don't have to think about anything. For example, with WebSockets, it's not available yet in websites, but I could write a website, use SignalR, and then a little while from now in the future, when the underlying virtual machine is upgraded, my websites are going to automatically get that feature. Then I could use mobile services, which works on top of websites. So the folks that are building these services are creating them in such a way that I don't have to think about maintenance. I don't have to think about the boring part of administration of IT. I get to think about the fun stuff. So as a developer, remember I've said developers are lazy. Yeah. So if I can be as lazy as possible, do as minimal work as possible, that's what I like. And that's what makes me happy about using Azure and ASP.NET.
That's actually a good trade for a developer to be lazy.
It is, because a developer who is lazy is most likely to do the simplest possible thing that could work.
So what about Visual Studio?
Well, Visual Studio 2012, one of the things that we did with ASP.NET is we externalized the tools. We pulled the tools out so that we can rev ASP.NET and the web tools faster than Visual Studio revs. Yeah. So if you take a look at Mads Christensen's Web Essentials 2012, it's a little add-in to Visual Studio that's kind of a playground. It's a playground for our team to try new features out. Yeah. So what I like the best about Visual Studio is that we can make it new and interesting and fun and have new features without having to kind of update the entire thing. Plus, I like the fact that I can do .NET 2, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, all from the same thing. So multi-targeting is really important to me.
So you have a kind of a reputation to being a gadget geek.
Yeah,
what is the latest gadget you bought?
It's funny that you asked that. The gadget that I bought yesterday was a 16,000 milliamp hour backup battery. I had a 5,000 and I had another 5,000, and I would carry the two 5,000s together, feeling quite special. And then my friend says, "You need a bigger one." And he says, "This is a 16,000 milliamp hour battery with 5 USB plugs." So now I just kind of want to sew it into my backpack, so my backpack will become one giant battery pack for my gadgets. I bought that yesterday. Awesome. It's still charging.
So if you got stranded on a deserted island, what 3 gadgets would you bring?
You know, see, it's funny, and this is totally true. In my mind, I'm like, I would bring an iPad and a Surface, because I haven't decided yet which one I like the best. You know what I mean? I have all my movies loaded on the one, but at the same time I'm still learning to type on the touch cover. So I'll probably bring a couple of tablets, and then I'd bring my Kindle.
And I asked Pete Brown the same question yesterday. Nobody ever says a phone. You can call for help.
You know, we're not very clever gadget people, are we? That's a really good. I would text them. I would use WhatsApp, and I would text for help.
You use a lot of quotes. A couple of years ago, you said on Twitter that you couldn't even be. One could not even talk to you without even have seen Golden Child.
Yeah, Golden Child's a great movie. Eddie Murphy.
What is your #1 reference movie?
What movie do I use the most to reference? Ooh, good question. Gosh, I don't know. I use Babylon 5. I would probably say Star Trek. I'd probably say that if I pull like everything I learned from Star Trek.
Good choice.
Probably classic Star Trek. Yeah, even more so. Yeah, good questions.
So the last question: your first computer?
A Commodore 64.
Oh.
In fact, it was Commodore 60. No, it's a VIC-20. It was a VIC-20.
Even earlier.
And I had a cassette player, and that's how we would play. We would have a game on the cassette player. We'd push play, and then we'd type load star comma 8 or comma, was it comma 9 comma 1 for the cassette? 8 comma 1 was for the drive.
I don't remember.
It was like load start. Anyway, that's what I would do, and I actually still use my emulator sometimes with the kids. And you know, Pete Brown is a huge Commodore 64 nerd. Yeah, there was a Commodore 64, and we sold the van. My parents sold their car to get me a Commodore 64. Seriously, that's true. Like one day I came home, and the car was gone, and this tiny computer and this tiny 13-inch screen was there, and that was the beginning of it.
Sweet. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, thank you. Awesome questions.
Thanks.